Okay, once again, it is Tuesday evening. I'm a few minutes behind schedule because that's the way it is. Let me say that my name is Hawkins, and I'm reading from a book called Conversations with Likka Sto Rufus. Likka Sto Rufus is known to wear a mask saying, "I am Black History," so I'll have to stop impersonating him right now because I'm not Rufus. So here we go. This is chapter 14, and I'm going to read two chapters this evening because they're relatively brief. Chapter 14 and 15. All right, here we go. All right, I'm back in Chicago, homeless, jobless. No openings for an external rat, pal. Sorry. And I had this 50,000-pound monkey on my back. You were hooked? A junkie? An addict? I don't know why it seemed to be a perfect afternoon to talk about soul losing. The late afternoon sun streamed through the red, green, yellow canvas that covered our heads. I felt it was exactly the right stage for the scene. Yeah, I was a dope fiend. No need to sugarcoat things with words like addict. A dope fiend is a dope fiend. A fiend for dope. That's what I was. Backtracing, it came from all of the stuff that they gave us in the hospital. But I'm not going to lay all that blame on them. I'll have to take responsibility for deciding to get on heroin. Funny, I noticed early on that old-time dope fiends never pronounced the name of the drug as it was written in the medical journals. Heron. They always said heron, like they were talking about that skinny-necked bird. How long were you on heron? I had to decipher the muffled laugh behind the mask. Willie, trust me, you ain't never all heron. You can stop using for 10 years, but that does not mean you are off. Heroin is a mighty monkey. The fact that I have not used for 20 years or so does not mean that I'm clean. The fact of the matter is that, as they like to say these days, is that I used for 20 years, give or take a few months. He was silent after that statement, though he was waiting for my reaction. I didn't disappoint his expectations. You were a dope fiend for 20 years? I tried to make myself sound blasé, but I didn't pull it off. I sounded incredulous even to myself. You were a dope fiend for 20 years? Once again, there was this silent period, this cool delay. Yeah, I got lucky. Not a lot of ex-dope fiends around who managed to survive 20 years on the horse. That's what they used to call it, horse. I can lay up here and say, I stole the horse, or maybe the horse rode me. The other thing that they used to say, if you had a habit, is that you had a monkey on your back. It's not like a dope fiend was locked into a cage full of animals. I can't say what it is that made me make a comment like that, but Rufus found it really funny. He pulled his mask down to laugh. Brother had a funny, freaky sense of humor. I jumped right back on the track, fearful of losing the thread. So, you were on the horse for 20 years. Anything happened that was interesting during the course of those years? I was learning intuitively, I guess, how to drain stuff out of Rufus. He laid on his futon, masked up, and I sprawled on a plastic-covered lawn chair opposite, a good social distance away from each other. It was like a shrink-patient setup, except for the fact that I wasn't a shrink and he wasn't a patient. I was a writer and he was the main character of a story that I was writing. I didn't have to remind myself that I was dealing with an unusual character. He reminded me. Willie, I know you're trying to play on me by asking me anything happened that was interesting during the course of those years. Okay, that's fair, that's cool. Maybe I can think of a few things. 45 minutes later, after he had filtered from one crazy, mad, weird, incredible, believable, unbelievable story to another, I had to pull him to a halt. Rufus, I'm hungry. Me too. That's what caused him to agree to come to the end of a weird story about being hooked up with a Russian oligarch cartel way back when, who had decided they were going to hijack the mind of the next guy that they felt they would be totally in control, the president. So how did you become involved in this? I was out there. Willie, man, I was out there. Ain't no telling who you're going to deal with when you're out there. The thing you have to keep in mind is that I was freako in the dope fiend habitual criminal world. I was somebody who had crawled through North Vietnamese tunnels. I had shot people to death. I had done a whole bunch of negative stuff, but I wasn't a criminal animal like a lot of those people were. I was an animal, that's true, but I was a well-trained ex-tunnel rat, not a criminal. You dig where I'm coming from? We decided to have a snack at Salamat Po.
That's good.
It always surprised me a little to receive this for real reception we got when we went to this place. Your table is ready. That was the way Lola welcomed us. I was praying to God Almighty that it would be. Rufus responded. Weird person. I could never tell what he was going to say. We took our table and demasked. That was a pleasure. I was feeling deprived of some kind of stimuli by not being able to see people's faces. You were talking about being a dope fiend for 20 years. I knew I could count on you to remind me. You mind if I have a sip of this tea before I spill my dope guts to you? Thanks, darling. I swear I could almost see our waitress blush behind her mask. Thanks, darling. He could turn it on and off whenever he wanted to. What you have to understand about the heron thing is that it can place you in a very special category. Let's have some of that chicken adobo and rice. You got it. Mid-afternoon, 1:30, a perfect time, just after lunch and a couple hours before the evening eaters showed up. Heron, a special category? Yeah, that's what I think, my own personal opinion. How so? Damn, man, why don't you slow down a bit? You make me feel like I'm on 60 Minutes or something. I could see from the snarky twinkle in his eyes that he was just messing with me. Sorry, Mr. Rufus, sir. I didn't mean to anger you none. My best southern drawl. He liked that so much he laughed out loud. That's cool, Willie, that's cool. It sounded almost authentic. Now then, where was I? Heroin? A special category? Yeah, I think about it. Charlie Parker, Bela Lugosi, Lady Day, Errol Flynn, Alexander the Great, Nero, Miles Davis, Juanita Jones. Most of the dudes that I grew up with on the south side of Chicago, hundreds. I could sit and name names all day long, and the thing that put them in a special category, including me, is that we all had some kind of talent. We had to pause for a few minutes to get into our chicken adobo, but I could tell he was energized into his groove. When I was using heavy, I felt like I was on another plane, maybe another planet. It was like I could hear stuff that normal people couldn't hear. I could become invisible if my fix was right. Invisible? You heard me, mister. I could become invisible. That's how I got away with so much devilment. I could walk into a place let's say this place, walk behind the counter, open the cash register, take the money, and split without anybody seeing you? Well, sometimes. It had a lot to do with the quality of the dope. This special thing I'm talking about was almost some kind of blessing. Look at it, at this. I never had a cold when I was using. That made me think that heroin is probably a cure for the common cold. A chicken bone from the Adobo almost got stuck in my throat. Heron caused me to come to heavenly California. We both paused to suck on our Adobo chicken thigh bones. Delicious food. I was hanging out in a shooting gallery. Willie, you know what a shooting gallery is? It's a funky, dirty ass place where bona fide dope fiends go to shoot dope. Damn, brother, man, that's the absolute dirty dog truth.
Okay.
Rufus, I get the impression you forget that I'm from Chicago, too. He sounded very sincere and serious when he said, I have to remind myself to remember that. Anyway, there I am in this funky, dirty-ass place with my homies. Dookie Dog, Cornbread Willie. We used to call him that because he was from some little old town in Mississippi. Weird Jones, Bishop Jones, the usual bunch. We were shooting this exceptionally good heron from Mexico straight. Had been doing it for a whole day, watching the snow come down like big clouds. Terrible snow. I got into this dope fiend conversation with my boy Dookie. Dope fiend conversation punctuated by us nodding off on each other from time to time. I forget what we called the conversation, what the conversation was, but he mumbled California about 4 or 5 times. I asked him one serious question. Is it warm all the time? Yeah, it's warm all the time. And they got heroin like this in every bag.
Oh, please.
Oh, please. 2 days later, I was on my way to California. It took me almost a year to get there because I got waylaid by a whole bunch of things, including a 90-day stay in a funky little jail in New Mexico. Maybe it was Arizona. In any case, as you can see, I made it. It was my 20-year journey into Northern California heroin life. Gotta keep stuff straight. I landed in Northern California first, and the drug scene was superb. But it got a little chilly in the winter, so I decided to come down south. The first time I decided to go south anywhere. You know what I mean? I had left the snow, but now for the first time in my life I felt snowed in. Can you dig where I'm coming from, Willie man? Can you dig where I'm coming from? I simply nodded yes. I didn't want to distract him with any words from me. I stole children's bicycles off of ghetto back porches to support my habit. I stole people's sheets off of their backyard clotheslines and deepest watts. I performed homosexual acts. I signaled for more tea as he paused, this spaced out look in his eyes. Lola took 2 minutes to replace our empty teapot. I raided church boxes. I think I could say I basically ravaged Southern California. Busted windows out of a parked car to get at whatever was in the car. From all over LA to San Diego and back. I would do anything for a fix. I paid a hell of a price for what I did, believe me. I was in and out of jail on a regular basis. In a way, I almost welcomed the bust because the 30-day bit, the 90-day bit, would give me a chance to lower my intake need. Problem was that I would be a real hog when I got back out into the streets. I might double my heroin intake out of pure greed. I must have gone through a dozen rehab programs. Some judges would check out my war injuries and go easy on me. Others just got tired of looking at my sorry ass and gave me as much time as they could. Rufus, I hate to interrupt, But I'm just curious about something. I know my relationship with Yvonne and my sons. She had another boy. She named him Irvin, Melvin and Irvin. Strangely enough, during this whole Mad Hatter time, I kept in touch with Yvonne. She couldn't contact me because I didn't have a permanent address for years at a time. Whenever I did find the time to make the effort, I could go to the Red Cross office at the local VA, give them the info they needed, and they would make the connection somehow. I'll have to take my cap off to these people. They take care of maximum business.
Mm.
You said that you had directed your VA comp check to her electronically, so they can always reach her by going into the computer.
Mm.
Damn, Willie, man, I got to give it to you. You may be a writer, but you're still smart. I could sense that he was on the verge of using me to make one of his detours. I had to beat him to the punch. 20 years into your heroin addiction, can you look back on any especially memorable time, either good or bad, that you experienced through that time? He took a sip of his tea. Leaned back in his chair and stared up at the ceiling so long I thought he had forgot my question. Willie, to tell you the honest to God truth, I have to say all I can recall is 20 years of bad experience. Purely negative shit. Every day was a bad experience. Some more bad than others, but nothing good. No, not ever. That is, unless you could say that being able to score for your fix was a good experience. How did you kick? How did you break the monkey's grip on your back? He smiled at me, an unusual gesture for him. I like that. I like that. Monkey's grip on your back. I like that.
Yes, yes.
How did I do it? Here's the truth. A friend of mine, we all need friends like this. My friend whispered a little known secret in my ear. Hey man, one way to keep the monkey off your back is to drink it off. What did he mean by that? Get drunk. That's what he meant. Like, you could start pouring booze down your throat and you would forget about the monkey. Since I was desperate, I was sick of the doping lifestyle. Shoot up, nod off, hunt for more heroin. Shoot up, nod off, hunt. I was tired of the cycle, so I went for the wine. Which is wild Irish rose, as strong as bourbon, scotch, any of them, and it was much cheaper. So I started drinking pints of this rock gut wine. It lasted for about 3-4 days, this substitute gratification thing, till I discovered the combination of wild rose with heroin was, how shall I put it, delightful. So off I go into wino heroin hell. What was that like? I almost bit my tongue off asking the question, but I thought I had no choice. If I was going to write an honest book, I would have to put as much truth in it as I could. The wino / heroin hell. I was beginning to see Rufus as a world-class actor. He seemed to have a wagon load of facial expressions, dozens of tonalities for whatever he wanted to say, whenever he wanted to say it. He used his super sad tone for this one. My personal wino heroin hell. Under the influence of the heroin, I tried it from one place to another, hunting for the bread to cop that fix. Now with this need to stay drunk when I wasn't high, I sort of staggered around. I added 10 more years onto my time in wino heroin hell. Rufus, you talking about a 30-year trip? That's exactly what it was, a trip. And I have to tell you that most of what happened during that time was a blur to me. It's like it was a blur. I can flash back at strange scenes from time to time that are as clear as water for a short time and then it's gone. Give me an example. Deep inhalation, slow exhalation. His eyes closed for a few beats. The scene was set. I felt like I was coming back to life. Or maybe I was being born again. I can't really figure out which. I blinked up into this bright white light. I looked around. I was laying on a gurney in a hospital room. I gripped the sides of the gurney trying to get a grip on myself. 3 men in scrubs were standing on the right side of the gurney. One of the guys in scrubs had a clipboard. He was talking to the other 2. My senses cleared up for me to recognize that I was in a hospital. These were doctors, and they were talking about me. They're not holding the driver. He has witnesses say this guy ran out into the street from between 2 parked cars. Put a hell of a dent in the side of this car. I slipped over the left side of the gurney. I was halfway to the door before they noticed. Hey, come back here, you got a fractured ankle. It was a county hospital, a lobby full of people. I was hopping and skipping out of the front door before they really got started. Thank God I was on the first floor. I never would have made it down some steps. Want another example? I got dozens if I can remember. What kind of treatment to get for your fractured ankle? It was a sad little sound he made in sync with the sad tone of the story. Treatment? I made it over to Chi-Chi's place, one of my fellow dope fiends who used to let me sleep on the floor in her bathroom sometimes. She tied my right ankle up real tight with a couple of her stockings. That was the treatment. It'll be clear in a minute.
Okay.
That was the treatment she gave me and then put me out because she had business to take care of. I got lucky later on that night when I hip-hopped past somebody who had left his garage door open for a few seconds. Lord in heaven, a 10 speed. I hopped on and pedaled away like I had discovered gold. Later that night, after I had busted in somebody's car and grabbed a whole armful of clothes somebody just got out of the cleaners, you never leave stealable stuff in your car. You got that right, Willie, man. I pedaled straight to Big Bun's shooting gallery to cop. I had clothes to sell. I sold the clothes, had enough bread to party a bit. I had been on the scene about a couple of hours, sprawled out on my bike to keep the other dope fiend from stealing it. One of the dudes sprawled out on this dilapidated sofa across from me said, "Hey Mel, why your ankle all swelled up like that?" I looked down and sure enough, my left ankle was fat as a watermelon. Chi-Chi had tied up the wrong ankle. We all had a big laugh trying to stocking on the right ankle and then shot up some more heroin. When did you get treatment? You know, what your ankle put in a cast and all that. Never happened, pal. I just self-medicated and let nature take its course. And that's where we're going to stop this time. Because...
Incredible.
Well, that's what he said too. When Willie, the writer, keeps asking him, can you name some circumstances? Almost all of the circumstances he named are what they are.
Unbelievable.
And believe me, having heard some of these stories in real time, in real life, from people like Bam and Baby June, Blue and Papoose, and some other people's names I could recall if I could jog my memory hard enough. These guys used to sit up and tell us these fabulous tales about what they had done. I remember Bam and Baby June talking about jumping from one rooftop to another with Bam had a sheet wrapped on him around his. Well, here's the story. They stolen somebody's sheet and ran up on the 3rd floor being chased by the people whose sheet had stolen. The way they explained it, it was like a canyon wide. As they were running up the stairs, the sheet got wrapped around Baby June's face. They get up to the roof. Bam jumps across. They were athletes.
Right.
And Baby June is trying to get this sheet off his face, and the guy said, hey man, you don't have time to do that. Take 5 steps back and run and jump, because they're coming. They come up the stairs, and if they get you, you know, they're going to beat him up. So he tells a story of flying through the air with sheets wrapped across him blind, because he trusted his partners. He'd take 5 steps back and run, and you can do it, just jump. And when he hit the bare edge of the other roof, I grabbed him. The sheet fell off, and we ran. So you did all that, and you still didn't get the sheet. Say, hey man, we went on to another sheet.
I bet they did.
A beef sheet. And they used to tell these stories, so I'm trying to fuse a little bit of that kind of madness. Like you took notice of the fact that the wrong ankle had been bandaged.
Yes.
You know, I saw people walk around with arms that had been broken.
Oh yeah.
And had been healed at odd angles. You know, why is who got his hand down like that? So no, that's the way his hand is bent.
Right. They have to go to the hospital and re-break sometimes, because
I saw a guy do something. It was standing there. He was a dope fiend nodding off, and a car tire ran over his feet.
Oops.
And I think maybe the tire was underinflated or something. Ran over his feet, and we were standing and said, "Oh my God, the poor guy just got his back."
No problem.
No problem. He just walked away and
works as a reverse.
Oh, wait. You know what they wound up calling him?
What is it?
Toad.
Oh.
We wound up calling him Toads after that.
Toads.
Where you going, Toads? So, anyway, that's the end of chapter 14 of Likka Sto Rufus.
14 and 15, right?
14, just 14.
Oh.
No, I let it go at that because
okay.
Enough is enough for one day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I totally
I'll give you the 14 blurb from this and
all right,
carry on.
Gone. Okay, thank you so much, Salena-Hawkins. This has been always a wonderful day with you. Day at the park and a bedtime story at night. On Tuesday night.
I hope I'm more interested in that.
Oh, you are most
but let's not get into that. Like having a monkey on your back.
Extraordinaire, sir. Okay. Extraordinaire. All right, until next Monday.
Until next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. For
the reading. Next Monday for the
radio.
For the radio on video.
Yes.
Project.
Yes.
Which is going to be done by the two of us with a little bit more tweaking of what we did this past Monday. For those who were there,
right,
you'll know that we had some little technical problems that will be resolved.
This is so. And with that,
Yes.